Hey everybody, this video is part of our full-length The Onside Kick podcast. You can find that on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes. You can pretty much find it anywhere, so we don't care where you listen. Just stick around and check it out.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And we are here, podcast numero dos this week. This is becoming a normal thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of the things, I like giving you guys extra content, but it's one of those things where it's like, it was special the first time. Are we doing it too much? But hey, Super Bowl week, we got to give you something special. And plus, next week, it's our podcast anniversary. So
coming up.
If you want to get us gifts, send them down below in the comment section. But yeah, how long have we been doing this now?
I don't know if this is, I think this will be year 5.
Okay.
Or maybe 4.
Because I know.
And I think it's 4.
I want to say for the very beginning, it was 2012-ish. But I think I'm talking about since we really became MVP in the onside. We've been doing the onside kick for a while. We've morphed. I'm going to let you guys start this podcast before we get to the 49ers first. In this podcast is we started off as an everything podcast, then went to a Chicago podcast.
Yep. Before
we finally figured out and said, well, it's the onside kick. Let's just focus on football, and that's where we stand to this day. But today on the podcast, talking 49ers, John Lynch going to be hired as the GM. Kyle Shanahan will be the coach, but mainly looking at that John Lynch hiring. We're going to look at the Bills and their draft. Should they trade up to get a quarterback? And then the Browns, also a quarterback. When in the draft should they draft an NFL quarterback? But Mark, it's said that this Niner team is going to hire John Lynch, formerly of I remember him on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's been an analyst on Fox, so he's never been a GM. He will be the GM of the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan looks to be going to be hired as the head coach. Both will get 6-year deals. I want to ask you this question. Is this move, the John Lynch move for the Niners, is it bold or is it bizarre?
Well, I would want to say it's bizarre, but at least I see where they're coming from. So the reason I say that is it doesn't make sense because the guy has no managing experience. He doesn't manage. He's never worked in a front office. He's never really owned companies. Not that he's the owner, but he's in charge of pretty much everything. So he has zero experience other than he was good in the NFL. But I get what they're going for in the sense of we don't have a lot of options. We understand that. Let's at least do something that will get people excited. And John Lynch is a guy who can get people excited. He understands the NFL. He was a commentator, so they kind of figured he understands the game. And they see maybe John Elway. They maybe see I'm blanking on some of the other guys who have been players and then turned into GMs, other than Matt Millen, of course.
Well, really, that's
another guy who doesn't have experience.
And really, that's the big thing when Florio was on Dan Patrick. He said, really, this has 2 ways that it can go. You're hoping it goes John Elway, but it can go Matt Millen. And right now, a lot of people are looking at it and go, there's more similarities to Matt Millen than there are John Elway.
Yep. Ozzy's who I'm thinking of in Baltimore. But
Ozzie Newsome.
The big thing here that I look at this and say is, I get you're trying to do something different, but really to me what this smells of is nobody wanted the job. And you kind of package this not good decision into it's a surprise. It's something different. We're trying to go a new direction. It's like here's the thing. Those of you who might not know anything about diamonds, trust me, this guy knows shit about diamonds. I had to buy one. So there's this color to diamonds every now and then.
He's very happy, though, that he had to buy that diamond now.
I bought that shit, and I did a damn good job buying it.
Because you're getting married. I'd hope you'd be happy.
And one of the big things to diamonds is the 4 C's that they talk about. We're not going to go into it, but one of the things is the color, and you want one that
is it color, carat,
clarity, carat, cut. I think.
Okay.
If I remember right, I might have messed one of them up. Anyways, no one's gonna know in the comment section, so who cares? The color.
No
you
one
want
an MVP
something
either. You're the first getting married.
That's right. You want something that's as close to clear as possible. No color. On the complete opposite end of that is a brown diamond. That's a shit diamond. That diamond sucks. You don't want to buy it. Yet, has anybody heard about a chocolate diamond before? They are packaging these shit diamonds that aren't worth anything as chocolate diamonds.
I've seen Julie commercials.
Yeah,
and they're like, ooh,
right?
nice chocolate diamond.
That's what this is. It is nobody wanted the job. There is no worth to this. Who wants to have anything to do with the San Francisco 49ers right now? No one wants to have anything to do with York either as an owner. And they're saying, we're going to take this kind of bad situation, the bottom of the barrel.
They're brown diamonds, like literally brown diamonds.
Yeah, they're chocolate. Don't eat them. But,
Mark, they're chocolate.
We're going to package this into this deal, put a pretty little bow on it, and say, look, it's John Lynch. Isn't this a great move that we made? And I think everybody is seeing through it as, no, nobody wanted the job. This was the only guy that was willing to take it. I mean, literally, you had 2 different guys from the Packers who could have taken this job as GM, who constantly get talked about as potential hirings for GM, who both said, yeah, no, I don't want it.
Well, it was, I can't remember the exact name of one of them, but the guy who got the Colts job, they were originally wanting him. He said, no, I didn't want it. That's Wolf. And then they wanted someone who's in the Patriot organization. They wanted to package that with him and Josh McDaniels. Well, that fell through.
And
Josh
neither
McDaniels
one
ain't
wanted
leaving anywhere.
Yeah.
But this is one where I feel like it has potential to work. And the only reason why I say that is from what it looks like, both him and Shanahan are going to have, they're both going to have 6 years on their contract. And really it's one of the things of, okay, A, who's going to be able to work with Kyle Shanahan? And 2, it looks like Kyle Shanahan's going to have most of the control. It's just going to be up to John Lynch to hire the management staff, the front office staff,
to do the job for him.
And just kind of make sure everything runs smoothly. And that's the thing that's going to be the most important is who does John Lynch surround himself by? Because the one thing that they mentioned in the broadcast when the Packers played the Falcons, I don't remember all the names they listed, but there were a lot of former GMs and former people that have worked in NFL front offices that the Falcons said, fuck it, let's bring them on. Like, bring these people on. Let's get the best people in here. One of them, and the only reason I remember his name is because he was with the Bears. Phil Emery's on that staff now.
Gross.
He's in that front office. And they've got all this collection of guys who have been in NFL front offices. And look, they're in the Super Bowl right now. And the thing is, now I'm not saying Phil Emery was going to bring you guys to a Super Bowl, so don't get anything twisted, Mark. But that's going to be the key for John Lynch. Who does he surround himself with in San Fran?
The thing that I find interesting about this, and I'm not just trying to criticize all this is happening at the moment. You have John Lynch, a guy who has no front office experience, and you have Shanahan, who's a guy who had a failed job in Washington, and now offense coordinator job's gone great in Atlanta, but I mean he's got Julio Jones, he's got Devonta Freeman, he's got Matt Ryan,
he's got some of the best players.
Yeah, what's going to go wrong there? So it's just you're taking quite the gamble. And the other thing that I like to point out in our pretty packaging that we have with this job is saying 6-year deal. We're not going to fire you after 1 year. We're not going to get rid of you just because of, a disagreement. No, you got 6 years. Isn't that a big, long contract? To me, this just smells of we're trying to do as much of a PR job as possible on this. This is saying things are different, guys. We have changed. We have learned. And to me, it's like, all right, cool. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, yeah, and to me, the big thing is look at the Niners, and two of the things that I wanted to bring up was when you look at some of the most shocking moves that we've seen just in the NFL. Like, the big thing we're looking at here, bold compared to bizarre. And I'll be honest, the reason I kind of frame this with bold and bizarre is because I watched and this is the only Cowherd video I was able to watch today, was the one where he talked about John Lynch. And he said that really, let's not be crazy. There's a huge disparity between a bold move and a bizarre move. A bold move is like, okay, I'm not thinking that, but that's smart. A bizarre move is like, oh, fuck, I wouldn't have done that.
You mentioned Phil Emery, so I think that in this case, a guy like Mark Trestman, I would call that a bold move of saying, let's go to the CFL. You know, that was John Elway.
Is that bold or is that bizarre?
No, I would say that was bold. That was a bold move. Just like John Elway saying, hey, he's got experience in the AFC. Let's take him. Well, that's a bold move.
Like another bold move that Cowherd mentioned, the Buccaneers firing Lovie Smith after 1 year. Coach who's had Super Bowl success, got fired in Chicago after a winning season. That was a bold move to fire him after 1 year. Some other bold or bizarre, I'll leave it up to you guys to judge which. Chip Kelly getting fired after 1 year.
Correct move.
Tom Sula being hired as the interim after Harbaugh got fired.
Bizarre.
And Harbaugh being fired in the first place. And another one, keeping the Balky still on as GM, even though you knew he wasn't the long-term answer. So it's a lot of these, like, he brought up the bringing in the baseball analyst in Cleveland to run the front office for the Browns. Is it bold or bizarre, though? That's the thing.
That's one where I would say bold, because that has proven success. You said this guy can do it in this sport. We're going to make the bold move of saying he can do it in our sport.
And the thing that it looks like is all these moves that he brought up, he was like, most of them, how good are those teams? Another one he brought up, the Texans giving a contract to Brock Osweiler without even meeting him. That's a bizarre move. Usually you meet a quarterback before you give him a contract.
But the one thing I would call that one bold only in the sense of the fact of that's the quarterback market. I mean, a starting quarterback, that's what you do.
But it has nothing to do with the contract. To me, what made it bizarre is you didn't even want to meet the guy before you gave him a contract. Like, actually sit down with him and kind of just...
They're not there to be his friend. He's there to lead a team to a Super Bowl.
It's not being the friend. It's just kind of, you can kind of read a person and be like, is this a guy I want to hire kind of thing. That's why they have face-to-face interviews for jobs.
Yeah, but it's a job interview. We've been on job. You guys have been on job interviews. You've put the best foot forward.
Yeah, really, are you trying to put your real self out there?
Yeah, you're just putting what you think they want out there. It doesn't tell you much.
But all these moves, not mainly Niners, Browns, Texans, how good are those teams?
Texans may be the exception, but not that good.
The Texans only made the playoffs because Marcus Mariota got injured, and
they got a good defense.
And the Colts are crap. That's it. Like, if the Colts were actually good, the Colts would have won that. If the Colts had an offensive line, they would have won that division. Let's put it that way. If they would have had an offensive line, they would have won that division. And if Marcus Mariota didn't break his leg and the Texans didn't... If the Texans would have had 2 strong weeks, the last to end the season, we're not even talking about the Texans being in the playoffs. That's why I don't give them that much credit for making the playoffs. But the Browns and the Niners, they've been jokes. Yeah. They've been jokes the last couple of years. Well, the Browns, a lot of
But the only thing in defense of the Browns, really, is the fact of getting the baseball guy is something that they're doing to do something different. With Jack, the Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, Jackson. But
he was actually down in Mobile. Him and his staff got to coach the Senior Bowl this weekend.
Good stuff. That was a fun time. And I will defend John Fox icing the kicker. I will defend it because it was hilarious, and he smiled when he did it. He knew it was a joke, and he knew it was funny. Anyways,
he's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, I read this article of a scathing article about how dare he ice the kicker in the Senior Bowl.
That's what he's going to see in the NFL,
right? Plus, it's a fucking joke. It's funny. Anyways, that's a team that's trying to change things, that's trying to move in a different direction. So I get why they are doing things that people consider to be strange and why they're saying, we were a bad team. We have to do something different. And that's exactly what I think the 49ers are doing. And in that case, I want to give them credit of saying, we are trying something different. The problem is there is logic behind what was being done in Cleveland. I don't see the logic of what's being done here. They're basically being like, well, John Lynch knows that he has to prove himself. That's not logic. That doesn't make sense to me. That's just saying, like, bizarre. We know it's strange, but, and we're going to go
kind
for
of
it.
To wrap up the question and bring it back to it, I would say that John Lynch is bizarre only because you could say, oh, well, he has a good football mind. But to me, it's like, wait, he's never been a general manager. He's never been an assistant general manager. Yeah. How is he? It's kind of like if, for me, let's be honest. I was teaching, and then now in my day job, while doing this and trying to get this going, I'm an admissions counselor for college. Coming into that, I didn't know what the world was like. I'd never been, it was weird, not even just the tale of the job of like, I had to learn everything and learn the skills to do the job, but also I only knew the teaching world, where the teaching world is not like your typical office workspace, the cubicle workspace, as I should call it, where the teaching when you're in the classroom, it's very different than an office gig.
Yep.
So I had to learn that all over. Was I able to do it? Yeah. But it's one of the things where, will John Lynch be able to do it? Maybe, but will he be able to do it? We'll see. Yeah. That's the thing.
Yep. And that's really what this is. A lot of people, we're having fun making fun of it and stuff and talking about how weird it is.
Well, really,
but at the same time,
it's going to be who does he surround himself with, and we got to wait and see.
All they have to do is prove us wrong. Mm-hmm. And in this type of situation, I have no problem saying, hey, John Lynch, that was a good hire.
The one thing I will say, and this might bring us into the wrapping this one up, the one thing I would do if I was the 49ers is if the Bills call and say, we want your pick because we want Deshaun Watson, I'd be trading in a heartbeat. I would be giving up that second pick for a lot more picks and trying to pull a Tennessee Titan or really Cleveland Browns and try to get either 2 picks in the first or multiple picks for next year. But another thing, because you brought up John Fox, I wanted to bring this up. Bear fans who are listening to our podcast, one name you might want to get to know, because it looks like the Bears staff might have fallen in love with them at the Senior Bowl, wide receiver Zay Jones from East Carolina. So that might be a guy.
A lot of people fell in love with him in that game.
That might be a guy that you guys look at, a 6'2" wide receiver for outside the first round.
This is not the conversation here. This is not draft talk right at the moment. But there's no way the Bears are going to get the chance. They're not going to take him 3rd overall. Yeah, and he's not going to be there in the 2nd round.
We'll see what that's a conversation for another day. But before we move on, any last things we need to touch with the John Lynch hiring? Do you think we need to mention anything about the Kyle Shanahan? Because he said it in media day that nothing's official, but let's be honest, he's going to be the head coach of the 49ers.
No, I think the only thing is that, as a quote from earlier in this, well, we're not in the offseason yet, but postseason, is that you don't fire owners. But that's what the problem is in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, and really, sometimes it's like that's, like you said, you can't fire an owner unless it's the only owner that I believe I've ever seen get fired is Donald Sterling in the NBA. He's the only one that I've seen get his team ripped away from him.
Yeah.
And this is where I turn to you guys. Let us know what you guys think down below. Really, the thing I want to know is, do you think the John Lynch move is bold or is it bizarre? And tell us what you guys think.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And don't worry, there is plenty more where that came from. You guys can check it out right over here. Click that video, start watching it, and just stick around on Most Valuable Podcasts.